Welcome, Process podcast listeners. This is Chris, and I'm really excited to have you listen and watch this episode with one Gemma Fisk, who is a local Hong Kong-based sleep coach. We talked about our sleeping habits, how we can best kind of dial down things for a good night's sleep, what sleep is like for a child, for a teenager, for an adult, and all the things that we can do to improve the time it takes to fall asleep, the quality of sleep, everything that I want to know personally about sleep, she tells us about, and we are excited to share it with you right now. Let's start. Welcome to the Process Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm here joined today by, off camera, I got Alex as usual. Hi, Alex. But in front of the camera and in your podcast feed, you're hearing the voice of one Gemma Fisk. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, great. Can you introduce yourself and kind of what brings you here into our studio today?
Sure. My name's Gemma Fisk. I'm an infant and adult sleep coach, also teenagers as well. I've worked here in Hong Kong as a sleep coach for about 6 years, and I work both with private clients and in clinic as well.
Okay, great. Just going to ask the question, because you are a sleep coach yourself. How did you sleep last night?
Actually quite good.
Yeah? I mean, like surprisingly good, or like you're always looking good because you're a sleep coach, and coaches of anything are really good at the thing that they coach.
Most of the time. I also have 3 children, so quite often sleep is dictated by them. But last night was a good night. Yeah,
okay.
It's generally a good night, but
right. And I guess good is like a subjective term.
Yes.
What is good for you?
Well, the average person, adult, needs between 7 and 9. I need about 7 hours, 45 minutes. That's so specific.
On the button.
Yeah, I just kind of worked out that fits well for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the, what's the deviation? Like you can go 5 or 10 minutes under or over and still be okay? Or is it pretty much spot on 7:45?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but if I get 7.5, it's not enough.
Wow.
I really feel the difference.
Okay.
If I do more, then that's great. That's fine. Especially if I'm sick or, I've been up more the night before.
Yeah.
But 7:45 seems to knock it on the head for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as a coach myself, like I'm a physical fitness coach, and I think conventionally speaking, when I tell that to people, they're like, "Yeah, got it." Like you teach people how to squat or how to deadlift, and how to not hurt themselves when they're in the gym, and how to have them reach their goals in physical fitness, whether in a competitive sense or just in a daily life sense. I feel like in the orthodox of coaching, people understand what fitness coaches do. Sleep coaches. There might be some ambiguity there in the sense of like, well, everyone sleeps, right? And people can, figure out it for themselves. But, to challenge that notion, what is it that you as a sleep coach do? How would you define that in, I guess, as concise terms as possible?
Oh, okay. There's quite a few things.
Yeah.
So it changes whether I'm looking at babies or teens or adults. I guess more for teens and adults, I'm looking at any potential sleep disorders. Okay. So helping identify if there are any there and then referring them to the right places if we see something there. Most of the time it's behavioral, the sort of patients that I have. What are we doing or what can we change behaviorally to make sleep even better? And educating around sleep. Some people don't actually realize how much sleep they need, particularly for children, because it varies a lot as they get older. The basics of sleep all the way up to treating sleep disorders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And give me a ballpark number of like, how many people have you helped with their sleep hygiene, with their sleep disorders?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's such a good question.
Because you said 6 years you've been doing this in Hong Kong, but longer before that too, or?
No, I started in Hong Kong actually. Yeah. It will be in the hundreds on a one-to-one basis, but I deliver workshops where obviously there's a lot more people in the audience, so maybe more if you were to count them, but one-to-one, in the hundreds, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, just doing the math of like, all right, now you have an idea of helping out this many people in your 6 years in Hong Kong. What would you say is like, particularly for maybe such a bustling city as Hong Kong, are there any common problems that you've seen people having to overcome with their sleep habits, with their sleep hygiene, this, that, or the other?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's estimated that over 2 million Hong Kongers experience insomnia, which is mad when you think there's 7 or 8 million people that live here.
Yeah.
So insomnia is the number one for my adults and teens.
And if we can take a step back, because I think people, use the word insomnia in kind of like a generic sense, and this almost like when people say, "Oh, I'm ADD" or something, is like when you're particular about something, you can
Yeah.
be ADD. In the same sense of like if you don't get enough sleep, I'm an insomniac.
Right.
Clinically speaking, how you define when
Yeah.
you have insomnia?
Okay, good question. Yeah, so chronic insomnia is when you've had 3 months or more of
Mm.
disrupted sleep, because there are so many things that can affect sleep, just general day-to-day stresses, something happened at work, change a relationship, moving, a new baby. It's normal for sleep to be disturbed, but
Yeah.
if you've got 3 months where it's consistently not been great, then that's when you
And we say consistency like every night.
most nights, yeah, because
Yeah.
some people might have 3 nights on the trot where it's been really awful,
Yeah.
but then the night after that they'll sleep brilliantly and
I
then
see.
think it's over, but then maybe they go back again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Did you have insomnia at any point in your life yourself?
No, I've been so lucky with
Wow.
my sleep.
Okay.
No, the worst part for me was when I first became a mother, and anyone that's had a newborn knows that sleep goes out the window.
Yeah.
So that was my first taste of sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
and I was shocked at how it doesn't just affect you physically, right? It's emotionally, it takes it out of you too.
I mean, I feel that statement deep inside for two reasons. Number one, we did ask people before you came on today, people, when I say like members of our gym, people who listen to the podcast, we're going to have a sleep coach onto our episode today. What questions do you have? The vast majority is dealing with lack of sleep because you're a parent, either a parent of a newborn or even a parent of a toddler, any age range really.
Yeah.
Or just trying to figure out your own kid's sleep schedule.
Yeah.
And then myself, I'm a father of two,
right.
5 years old and 8 years old, and just looking at their sleeping habits in relation to mine, like we need to clean things up. And I feel bad. It's like we need to do better. And then I always say that, and then I don't really do much about it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of selfish reasons why we're speaking today.
Right.
But I guess maybe to take a grand step back, how did you get into this journey of becoming a sleep coach? Like, how did this become, I would say, just, speaking to the last 5 minutes, a passion of yours?
Yeah.
Like, kind of walk me through like your journey from any starting point that you'd like to choose of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Oh, and I'm pleased that the passion comes across too. That's nice, because it's true. It's absolutely true. So it started 6 years ago with my firstborn daughter, Lila, and me becoming a mother coincided with the move to Hong Kong because we moved here when I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was quite tricky because
How many months?
Like 4.5 months
Oh,
pregnant.
dude. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you did that pregnancy in hard mode.
Yes, we did. We did. It was, a tricky time, but amazing too. So yeah, when we got here, I didn't really know anybody, and obviously don't have family. They're all in the UK, so I was kind of doing it alone a lot. My husband's a pilot as well, and he flies a lot of long haul, so he's away like 7 to 10 days at once. So when Lila came along, and we all know newborns, they need to feed every hour, 2 hours at night.
Whenever they feel.
Yeah, whenever they want, whenever they're hungry, that's fine. But there was just no one to share that workload with. And I just ran myself into the ground. And yes, I felt the physical exhaustion, but like I was saying, the emotional exhaustion that comes with it, I just wasn't expecting. I just lost all confidence. I felt like I was an awful mother because I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't. It sounds awful and it's horrible to say it out loud, but I just felt like I wasn't really enjoying it as well because I was just so exhausted and just, emotionally
There's like
not
no
great.
moment to reflect and be grateful for it because it's like, well, I gotta keep this kid alive.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And it was really tough. So anyway, I hit rock bottom with it and experienced some postpartum depression and reached out for help. And I came across the sleep nanny who's based in the UK. And I spoke to her about Lila's sleep and sleep training. You're probably going to want to talk about that. But that was the first thing that came up. And all I knew of sleep training, which I think is probably all most other people know about sleep training, is the cry out method or extinction. And for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's basically you say goodnight to your baby, you leave the room, and you don't enter until the next morning. You just leave them to cry out. Zero judgment to anyone that's ever tried it. Absolutely no judgment, because we've all been sleep deprived. But the idea of doing that was...
Well, the worst part is, especially in a home like Hong Kong, where essentially the only place you could go is the living room where that means all you hear for the next 3 hours is your child crying for your name.
Yeah.
And you have to cut off the instinct, right? Of like,
Yeah.
this is how the way it needs to be done. Can't go in there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we break whatever progress we had. It's
Yeah.
tough.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that I was prepared to do.
Mhm.
I just wouldn't have been able to do it. So anyway, I spoke to the sleep nanny in the UK, and she basically taught me that there were quite a few other ways of doing this,
Okay.
and some ways that actually don't involve leaving the baby at all. Yeah. So I thought, okay, this is for me. I'm going to try it. So I tried it, and within a few days, sleep was getting better. Within 2 weeks, she was sleeping 7 till 7, and I was a new person. I loved motherhood. I had confidence to go out and meet new mums, so I actually developed a friendship circle for the first time since arriving, and that's when the passion started, because feeling the changes as I did, I wanted to be able to help other people to do the same. So I trained basically to become an infant sleep consultant at that point, and to help other people.
Okay. And I guess one thing that sticks out to me about that is the whole idea, and we talk about it here in our organization, is you can't fill from an empty cup, right? As if you are a person that is serving others, whether it is because you work in the service industry. In our case, if we're a coach, if we're trying to connect with clients and give to them, we're not helping ourselves and doing what fulfills us, then it becomes very, very difficult to sustain being able to serve others.
100%.
So in that case, it filling your cup in this case is like getting enough sleep is very, very important to that.
Yeah. Emotional regulation, everything that comes with that too as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
So in that journey from becoming a new parent with a lack of sleep and all the consequences coming from that to becoming a sleep expert yourself and helping others, what was that time frame like?
I think it took me about a year. You basically have to work with a certain amount of clients as well to qualify, and then they report back on you to the school and exams that go along with it. So about a year I think it took all in all. But then to become an adult sleep coach, that was more study on top of it, and I'm also qualified in CBTI, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's been a bit of studying along the way, but very interesting stuff.
I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode with a quick shout out to our sponsors, Today Well Spent. I've been using this journal for 2 years, and it has made a massive impact on my physical, but mostly my mental well-being. It is a guided journal backed by neuro and behavioral science, which I actually didn't know at the time. It has questions for you to answer at the start of the day, at the end of the day, end of every week, end of every month. And it's brought so much self-awareness to me of the things that positively and negatively impact my life. So if you're someone who cares about your physical and your mental well-being, which I think you do because you listen to this podcast, then go and grab yourself a Today Well Spent. Use the discount code THEPROCESS, one word in capitals, to get your discount.
Okay. Is the study of sleep something that's ever growing, or is it a pretty constant concept?
Oh yeah, there's research studies all the time. Yeah, and we're learning something new all the time because there's still so much unknown when it comes to sleep. Yeah, so you just have to constantly be up to date with it. I listen to a sleep podcast probably daily.
And the sleep podcast does not put you to sleep. You're very much engaged.
I think they exist. Yeah, like the calming meditative ones.
Yeah. I've accidentally come across those before.
Right.
In your learning of sleep and the concept of sleep and the habits of sleep, is there anything recent that you've come across in terms of research data that's been surprising to you?
Funnily enough, I listened to a podcast on the way here about beauty sleep.
Beauty sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that as like an abstract concept.
Yeah.
Which I think beauty sleep, when it comes down to it, is basically sleep. Right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Does it make you more beautiful?
Okay.
Yeah. Someone was basically asking the question of,
yeah,
does beauty sleep exist? Does it make you more beautiful? And there was a study done where they had a collection of people where they had them well rested, a good night's sleep, and then they did a photo shoot afterwards. So like headshots and then like a group photo. And then shortly afterwards, maybe a few days afterwards, they sleep deprived the same people and did
Mhm.
another photo shoot.
Okay.
So there was 2 different photos.
What was the time length between those 2 photo shoots?
I actually don't know the time length. No, maybe
But it was enough to notice the difference?
Well, yes, because then they had a certain amount of people that came in to judge them and to compare these 2 photos, and they had to grade how sleepy or attractive these people looked, and the result was so consistent that the people that were sleep deprived
Yeah.
were not as beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very.
What
it's
kind
kind
of
of
like
obvious.
what kind of things we're talking about here? Like I assume definitely something in the eyes, right? The bags in the eyes, or
Eyes,
just
yeah.
the general tiredness.
Yeah, and skin as well. I feel
Yeah?
like you lose your glow if you've not had a good night's rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've since then, and maybe in your study in general, you've picked up on signs when you're talking with a client of like, do they look sleepy? What are the signs of someone looking sleepy? Something like that.
Yeah, there's looking sleepy, but there's lots of other reasons why you could look tired too, in terms of like deficiencies or, something else health wise overall. But I try and ask people how they're feeling over anything else. A lot of people go off their Apple watches or smartwatches or
Is that
Aura
reliable?
rings and things. Well, my one is Apple, yeah. But
Okay.
I do really, we should go off how we're feeling as opposed to these devices,
Okay.
because they're just not accurate in comparison to a sleep study, where you're hooked up to something that's monitoring your brain waves and your brain activity.
Yeah.
We just can't rely on these basically to tell us how well we're sleeping.
Well, even in the sense of fitness, and I've used fitness trackers before, heart rate monitor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll have 2 things that'll occur. Number one, either I will feel bad and my watch will tell me I feel bad, and I'll be like, all right, I knew it.
Right.
Or I feel great, and the watch will tell me I actually did terribly in sleep last night. Then I'll start feeling bad.
Right.
So it's that part
Has
of the
that
data always like messes with me.
Yeah.
And this is what you mean of like be a little more intuitive and kind of like have more dialogue with kind of what's going on internally with yourself.
Exactly. And I actually believe that they provoke a bit of anxiety as well, because people wake up and they're almost excited to check what's the result, how did I sleep last night? And even though they might feel great and that they've slept really well, when they check the tracking, it's like, oh, I only got 10 minutes of deep sleep, and oh my goodness, I'm going to feel so exhausted today.
Yeah.
And they've started the day with that mindset, and that might not actually be true. It might not be accurate.
That brings an interesting question that I have. So in exercise, if we're competing in something, or if we want to have a really good results in something that we want to do, and this also applies to maybe if we have a presentation at work, or maybe if we have a speech, in our speech class, whatever, and you had a poor night's sleep that night before, or maybe even 2 nights in a row of poor sleep, maybe because of anxiety, maybe because of things that are in the way. Would you say if you had poor sleep, you should expect to underperform, or you're actually a little more capable than you think, even though you had subpar amounts or quality of sleep?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
If you haven't had very good sleep, your chances of injury are going to increase because you're not as focused. But also, our deep sleep part of the night is when we do our muscle restoration. So if you've not had very good sleep the night before, you've got something big going on that could impact.
Okay, so then when we're talking about like the restorative sleep, that only occurs in deep sleep. You can't do like a 20-minute nap and think that restores like your muscles.
Yeah, some people napping is great for them, but for a lot of others it isn't. Different parts of sleep you get different things from. So deep sleep, like I said, is the muscle restoration, the physical restoration. Light sleep is more memory consolidation, and then REM sleep, rapid eye movement, which is when we do most of our dreaming. That's the like emotional detox that we get from sleeping. Overnight therapy, I like to call it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where it all ties back into like your physical, mental, and emotional well-being comes from good quality sleep.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about? I'm just like throwing a bunch of random questions at you.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me like I can get by on 4 hours of sleep or something like that. Is it physically possible that that's true, that a person can live off of, a very low amount of sleep relative to what's typically recommended? Like you said yourself, 7 to 9 hours for a typical adult is really what we need.
Yeah.
Is it actually possible to do well with less than that?
I wish it was. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine how much we'd get done.
Yeah,
If we
exactly.
just went to
I
sleep
think
for
about
4
that all
hours.
the time. Yeah.
I believe that anyone that says they are fine to get by on 6 or less hours of sleep, they have gone so long without having a full amount of sleep, they've simply forgotten what it feels like. Yeah, and how good it feels, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of us need between 7 and 9 hours still. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you don't do napping yourself?
No, I'm not a great napper. I find I feel more groggy if I've napped. Anyone that's prone to insomnia, so basically all my patients, I don't recommend napping at all. Because they tend to need more sleep pressure when they get to bed at night. So if you have a little nap, but whether it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, it's going to take away a bit of sleep pressure, which might make falling asleep more difficult or staying asleep more difficult.
Oh, dude, I wish I could just. I will send this podcast episode to. So in mainland China, where I live, because we're in Hong Kong right now, and I come here once a week.
Right.
In the public schools of which my two daughters attend, there is a 2-hour break in the middle of the day right after lunch. So in the kindergarten, where one of them goes currently, she sleeps for 2 hours.
Right.
And my older daughter, she goes home, and we have lunch at home, and she sleeps for about an hour. Most maybe 45 minutes realistically.
Right.
But especially in the kindergarten age, when I pick my kindergartner up at 5 o'clock, she's just wired. She's like ready to climb a mountain. And by the time bedtime rolls around, it's like, this is why you had a 2-hour nap and there is no pressure here.
Well, it's important to note that children will still need to nap. This is for adults.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
But most of them do drop the nap at 3. And you said yours were 5 and 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually they drop them by 3. It sort of depends how much nighttime sleep they're having. Up until the age of sleep, they do still need about 11 hours or 11 and a half hours at nighttime.
Yeah.
But if they're still having daytime sleep, then you would deduct that from nighttime sleep.
Oh, okay. So it does contribute to the daily and weekly sleeping amount, those longer naps?
Only for children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for some adults it works too, but for children, yes. But yeah.
Oh man, because
it's complicated.
Literally, like a week ago, I was on the couch trying to work because I was jet lagged. Because I just come back from California.
Right.
There's a long.
That's long. Yeah.
15, 16-hour time difference.
Yeah.
And I just knocked out just like out of the blue for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I had more work to finish. And I thought, all right, I had 2-hour nap. If I sleep 5 hours, that's 7 hours, right? You're saying physiologically that doesn't cut it for me.
I think if you're jet lagged, perhaps it's a bit different.
Okay.
But consistency between falling asleep and waking up, the regularity, that's what you want to keep ideally. If you're jet lagged, then you're probably just picking up a few hours here and there to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did mention the amount that people need to sleep is a little bit dependent upon their age.
Uh-huh.
Can you give a quick breakdown of like age ranges and optimal hours of sleep from childhood to even I guess my mom is like in her 70s now.
Yeah.
So for each of those ranges, what is the recommended amount of sleep that's optimal for that age?
Okay, so to break it down very roughly, and instead of I won't include nap times during the day for each of the, because I'll be here all day. But
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
overnight.
Let's assume nobody naps in this world.
Okay. Okay. So from 0 to 6, they'll need about 11 and a half hours at nighttime. But not disregard daytime sleep. They'll all need daytime sleep at some point as well when they're babies and toddlers. But yeah, between around 11 and a half hours of sleep. And then from 7 to 12, between 9 and 12 hours of sleep, and then between 12 and 18, between 8 and 10 hours of sleep, and then 18 plus between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. And you mentioned, an older person as well that's perhaps over 60. Your sleep needs do tend to decline as you get older, but it would probably more be the lower scale of the 7 to 9 hours.
So still within that range. And is that mostly because why would it be once you get older, you end up sliding into the lower range of 7 to 9?
You're less physically active, so you're not going to need to sleep quite as
less
much.
to have to recover from.
Yeah. So you don't need quite so much at that age. Yeah.
And one thing you mentioned early on in our discussion is you do help teenagers a lot.
Yeah.
So there's this point between childhood and adulthood where the teenage body, the teenage brain deals with sleep in a different way.
Yes.
So, okay, so there's so many different reasons for teenagers being like weird beings.
Yeah.
Sleep specifically, like what's going on there?
I started this new project last year because was it the beginning of the year in the January, I had just teenager after teenager come and see me. I've never seen so many teenagers in one go before.
On their own volition, or their parents like, dude, you need to help this kid out. Like what?
I don't know who sent them, to be honest, but they all turned up at the clinic.
Okay.
It's like, what's going on? Either sleep has got worse for these teenagers because of things like smartphones or, social media, or people are just more aware at this age that sleep's an issue, so they're actually seeking help. And exams, coming up as well, you need to make sure that you're sleeping well. So when someone becomes a teenager, we have a shift in our circadian rhythms, so we naturally actually want to sleep later and wake up later. And that's why teenagers have this terrible rep for being lazy, because they sleep in, but actually that actually feels normal to them. That's the shift that's supposed to happen. It's right. The difficulty is they still have to get up and go to school. So you're basically dragging them out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning. Come on, go to school. But actually they're exhausted because they've not been able to fall asleep until closer to midnight because of their circadian rhythm shift.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I end up working with the teenagers for that reason.
And have you heard about, the last few years schools trying to advocate for later start times, like even a 9 a.m. start for that reason?
In the US, I've heard of it happening. I haven't heard of it happening in Hong Kong. Doesn't mean that it's not happening. I just haven't heard of that. Yeah. But I've been invited into a lot of schools over the last year. I think the schools are all aware, and they've been asking me to present to both the students and the teachers so that the teachers have an understanding of how to manage children that are falling asleep in first period of the day. Like, what can they do? How can they support their students? I think that's great that the schools are trying to educate themselves more on that.
So if at the moment schools locally and in other countries are not going to be shifting the start of school time, and you just have a groggy teenager who's really slow to be aware, and some of these teenagers, they're gonna have to drive at that hour, which that's sleep deprived driving statistically can be as dangerous as like drunk driving in some cases, right?
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with a kid who needs to be awake and alert at an hour when they're not physically ready for it, what measures have you put in place to help with that?
So you can manipulate your chronotype, your circadian rhythm. You can shift it, manipulate it. So our circadian rhythms are governed by three things: light, darkness, and meal times. This is all quite useful information for jet lag too, actually.
Good.
Yeah. So if you want to naturally shift your circadian rhythm to going to bed earlier and waking earlier, you have to be consistent. It's not something that you can just try and stick to Monday to Friday. You have to do it on a Saturday and a Sunday as well.
Okay.
Yes, you have to commit, basically. So it'd involve turning the lights down low, 2 to 3 hours before your desired sleep time, making sure you're in bed consistently at the same time, and then you're waking up consistently at the same time. So no snooze button. As soon as that goes off, you've got to get up and start your day. And the first few days or the first week that you do that, it's quite tough because it won't feel natural. But if you're consistent with it, then it will. You'll get there with it. So yeah.
With regards to lights, I have heard of like the suggestion of when it's evening time, you should, number one, switch from like halogen, like white lights to, something more of just like a yellow light, it's like a
warm
light. And also fewer lights above your head and more lights kind of at head level or below.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what is the, I guess, do you, I guess, I don't believe, is the science back these kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So? Yeah. So we need melatonin to produce in order to sleep. You need melatonin. And melatonin secretes in the absence of light, basically. So these days, or for many years now, we've had artificial light. So when the sun goes down and it's dark outside, we can still produce a lot of light, which makes our bodies believe it's time to be awake. So we need to take away that light to become sleepy and produce melatonin. So I suggest 2 to 3 hours before your desired bedtime, turn down all the lights in your house. What you just mentioned there about changing the white light to the warm light as well is absolutely right. You want to do that. And then that will help basically to prepare your body for sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess when you're talking about lights, that also means the screens that you're looking at as well, right?
Yeah, screens do get in the way. It's a really difficult one, especially with the patients that I have that have insomnia, that they always say, "Oh, I'm really careful. I don't check any screen like 2 hours before bed, but it's still not working." And if you've got insomnia, unfortunately, that on its own isn't going to make you sleep better. But for this, the average person that doesn't have insomnia or anything like that, then it's good sleep practice to come away from the screen in the absence of light.
And, just because of, for example, COVID, right? Everyone being indoors and being on their screens naturally.
Yeah.
I think there is truth to that, right? Of especially kids who've now grown up with more screen time because of school, and it just becomes a habit, right? That might be a contributing factor to insomnia in teens these days.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
So, like for you, if I'm using you as an example, when do you stop using your screen?
This sounds really boring, but I've stopped watching telly recently. Not intentionally. There's just nothing on telly that I want to watch.
You don't watch like Bluey with your kids?
Oh, okay, Bluey. Yeah, sure. That's true. I do. But in the evening, there's nothing really. So I guess I'm kind of off a screen from 6.
Okay.
But let's say I was involved in a good TV program. Let's just imagine. I would probably want to turn it off by about 8:30.
Because you are going to sleep 2 hours after that or something like that?
Yeah, I'd like to be in bed for 9:30 to be reading, and then ideally asleep by 10. That's what I try to do, because then I wake up quite naturally at like 6-ish, really. Yeah.
All right. Now I'm looking at that as a habit. Like, all right, screens are off. The one thing that I can turn off the lights. I can turn off, my TV screen, my computer screen, my phone screen. I can close the blinds. I can wear a sleep mask. The one thing that I personally, and I think other people have a struggle with, is turning off like their mind.
Yes.
Turning off their body, right? You're either fidgety or you're always thinking about what's happening the next day.
Yeah.
This is part of the behavioral therapy part of it. So how do we solve, I guess the word would be restlessness as a blanket term. Number one, what is the clinical description of restlessness, and how do we solve that in this day and age of people who are just always plugged in?
Yeah, we are always plugged in. Well, this is where I like to get out my elastic band for the elastic band theory.
Okay. Let's go. We're on video, so yeah. So that works as well.
Try like this. So imagine you've started your day and you've got your elastic band, and you've got up, your alarm's gone off, and you've had a terrible night's sleep, so you've got some tension on the elastic band. And then you're rushing to work, you're running a bit late, you're stuck in traffic, there's more tension on the elastic band. And then when you get in, there's a meeting you've forgotten about, you haven't prepared for. You get the idea. As you go throughout the day, the elastic band has so much tension on it. And then, you get back from work, and perhaps you want to work out, or you want to be with your children or whatever. It's go from the second you wake up until finally you get into bed and your head hits the pillow, and suddenly there's no distraction. There's no telly. There's no smartphone. There's no child asking for something. There's no work. And anything that you wanted or needed to reflect on from the day, you're going to be completely flooded with. Like, oh my God, I forgot to pay the electricity bill. Oh, it's my mum's birthday tomorrow. I haven't sent anything. That's when it's all going to come in. So the trick is, it's having a pre-bedtime wind down is very important. Don't get me wrong. But actually, throughout the day, it's also really important to have little check-ins, just little breathers. Breathing is one specifically. I'm a big believer in certain breathing techniques as well, depending on how much time you have as well, just like 5 minutes or even just a minute to sit without a phone or any distraction. Take a walk around the block if you can, and just be in your own mind without your phone. Because I think a lot of people take a break and they're like, oh, I'm relaxing now, I'll just get my phone out, and then they scroll, right? And that's not being in your head.
Oh man,
we all do it.
I mean, it hits, because number one, I definitely have realized myself as a person who forgot how to be bored, right? Where I can't just sit alone with my thoughts. And if I ever do that, if I ever can take a walk and go outside and not have my phone, I used to do it more often than I do now, but I actually really like the idea of like just shutting off for a bit, and then getting back to it, to whatever it is in your day. What you're saying is, because of all that tension on that band, and you can't just expect for that to dissipate the moment you you put your head down on the pillow,
Yeah.
especially if you're giving yourself the pressure, like, all right, if I fall asleep right now, I got 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And then you look at your watch again. If I fall asleep right now, I got 7 hours and 15 minutes. And it just keeps winding down. And that pressure, that band never actually really loses its tension because now everything from the day is stuck in your head.
That's right. Yeah.
You need to give yourselves, I mean, if you put a number to it, how often in the day, roughly, should we have those little mini check-ins, even for 1 to 5 minutes?
Okay, so starting the day, if you can, then I would try and take a breather before you even go to work, if you can. I know it's a crazy time getting yourself ready. And then 1 in the morning, 1 at lunchtime, 1 in the afternoon, and then throughout the evening. And it, like exactly as you just said, 1 to 5 minutes is fine. And depending on how much time you have would depend on what breathing technique I would suggest to do. Okay. I find the most effective one is the 4-7-8. Have you heard of that?
No, describe that.
So you're breathing in for 4, holding for 7, out for 8. And you want to do a good 5 minutes of that. And that one's great. I find it wonderful. I tell a lot of my clients to use that one.
The one that I do know because of the shape is the box breathing.
Oh, yes, the box breathing.
So how does box... Because right now, it's, to me, the differences are the numbers, right? Because, you know, in, hold, out is like 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yes.
So 4, 7, 8. For you... in particular, why does that work well for you?
I just find it relaxes me so much easier. I also do box breathing as well, and I think for some people that was quite good because you can visualize it too, just like you're saying, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. It's
basically whatever works best for your brain and your habits.
That's right.
As long as you're doing that.
Yeah. And also remember, you need to take 3 deep breaths through it to register to your nervous system. So you need to take at least 3.
Oh.
Yeah. But ideally 5 minutes for that one, if you can. If you
got it.
have less than a minute, and this is one that I do before I'm presenting and I've got like the jitters and I'm a bit like nervous, is left nostril breathing. Okay. Have you heard of that?
No, I also didn't see you do it before the podcast. So you definitely were not stressed
You
before
didn't see me stood outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you just put your thumb over your right nostril and then you just breathe normally.
Wait, hold on, let's try this. Okay, walk me through this.
It's not great if you've got a cold.
That's fine. We'll work it out.
So you just hold your thumb over your right nostril. And just breathe normally through your left one. Doesn't have to be deep, just normally.
Oh, okay.
You're taking it
I was
very
doing that for the
seriously.
effect for the microphone.
And you
just
only
breathe normally.
Yeah, and you only have to do it for 30 seconds. And the reason is you're breathing directly into your parasympathetic system, which is what grounds you. Okay. So it's like your moon, your parasympathetic. Your sympathetic system is like your sun. So it's like your alertness, your daytime. Yeah. So that's why it works so well. If you've got a bit longer, you can do alternate nostril breathing, but I just like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
5 minutes, do the 4-7-8. Less than a minute, do left nostril breathing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how dedicated does this time have to be? For example, probably shouldn't have the TV on, probably shouldn't have something playing in your ear. You should be as kind of cleared out as possible when you're doing this. Even if your kid's in the room or something.
Yeah, that makes it harder.
Like you need to
as well.
basically just get away from as much as you can.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
That moment.
And take a breather. Okay. Yeah. I think once you've done it for a few days and you've noticed the knock-on, the positive knock-on, that's sort of how you end up, you stick to it, right? Because you know that I'm going to sleep so much better tonight if I can just keep my stress levels in check and my anxiety low, and then I'm going to sleep better. Okay. Yeah.
On the theme of things that I used to believe in about sleep that I'm realizing now was absolutely wrong. The idea of if you have a poor amount of sleep during the week, can you make up for it during the weekend? And also, if you know you're not going to have a lot of sleep during, let's say, a vacation or a very crazy week, trying to front load it with more sleep beforehand.
Oh, okay.
So, like, can you allocate good sleep and bad sleep in a way that it washes out? Okay. Is there any truth to any of those concepts?
Yeah.
Sleep banking, sleep debt, whatever you want to call it.
So the first thing that you mentioned about on the weekend, sleeping for longer.
Make up sleep.
Yeah. That's basically what I'd call weekend jet lag.
Okay.
So I see it a lot for people that are busy Monday to Friday. They're working long hours, and then in the evening, maybe they're client entertaining, or they're working late, or they're socializing. Yeah. They're going to bed late, but then still need to get up at 6 a.m. Let's just say. So perhaps they're averaging 6 hours per night, and then come Friday night, Saturday night, They're exhausted. They've got a lot of sleep to catch up on, so they end up sleeping in till lunchtime. And sure, okay, they're probably feeling like they've made up for a lot of the sleep debt that they've acquired over the week. But come Monday, your body's like, what on earth? When am I supposed to sleep? How, you're all over the place, and then you experience something called weekend jet lag.
It all goes back to that lack of consistency that you mentioned.
Exactly that. Yeah, there's just no regularity to it, and our bodies thrive from consistency, as we all know. So yeah, that's
How about the other side of that? You are going to expect a lack of sleep, so you better sleep more these next few days.
Yeah.
Does that work?
No, well, I think that's something else that's still being researched as
Okay.
well. Yeah. And I think if for anybody that does try this is sleep banking, right? Anyone that does try and do sleep banking, they might find that they're easily able to acquire an extra hour or hour and a half of sleep. But I believe that's probably from sleep debt that they've acquired before.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it would actually work. I mean, it's a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll just sleep 12 hours a night before
Yeah.
the baby arrives,
Yeah.
and I'll be fine.
I guess that's also too of like trying to put like a band-aid on like a bigger issue of like,
Yes.
if you have bad sleeping habits in the first place
Mm.
and you try to do that, I don't think it's gonna just it's gonna be another lack of consistency. It'll just be another quick fix for a long-term thing that needs actual attention to. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if it's gonna work for you, it might work if you have great sleeping habits to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned jet lag.
Mhm.
One thing that someone told me that made me feel really bad about myself, they were saying for every hour off the mark you are at your home time zone, expect 1 day of jet lag.
Yeah.
So like, being in California, that was about 15 hours.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have jet lag for 3 days, but once I heard that, then I made myself think, all right, I'm going to have terrible sleep and I'm going to feel irritable and I'm going to have brain fog for the next 15 days.
Yeah.
Is that true or?
Oh, I do. I'm sorry, but I do work off the same thing. Actually, yeah,
Oh,
I do.
boy.
Sorry, but
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I do.
I'm it's been more than 15 days, so I'm
Okay,
present
good.
now.
We're through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do tend to say for every hour of time zone change, expect a day.
Okay.
So I go back to the UK a couple
Yeah.
of times a year.
Mhm.
So it usually takes us about a week to get over it.
Okay.
5 days to a week. But yeah, I just keep it simple. Just remember light, darkness, meal times. Just make sure that you are exposed to natural daylight at the right times, or artificial light at the right times,
Okay.
and complete darkness at the right times. And I actually find that the most difficult thing to do, especially with children, is to actually eat at the right times, because in your previous time zone, that might have been when you were sleeping and you don't want to eat at all.
Well, I mean, I know this acutely because it just happened where, and I don't know if the people who run meal services, for like United Airlines consider these things, but it just seems like the meal times are just something that's just so wild. It's like, once we land in California, I had like a full meal,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like I should have been full at 5 o'clock in the morning when I landed in LAX. And I think you mentioned about meal times, and I have heard about a hack of like, if you don't eat at all on that plane ride, if you essentially fast during that plane ride, that will help counteract the effects of jet lag.
Yeah.
So with all things meal, light habits, circadian rhythm stuff, what is like the best way to limit your jet lag effect?
I think I have also heard the same about the fasting on a.
Have you tried it?
No. When there's some food put in front of me, I can't
I know.
refuse.
I know. They're like, what would you like to drink?
Yeah.
No one's ever asked me that before.
Yeah, I have so many choices.
Yeah.
How do I say no?
Yeah, like I've only had ginger ale on a plane because that was the only time I ever considered it.
Yeah. I always drink apple juice on a plane. I don't know why.
that's
I
so
always
funny.
want apple juice on the plane.
Yeah. We exist differently up there.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
No, I haven't tried it myself, but I have heard that it benefits some people. I think it sort of acts as a bit of a reset. So when you get there, I just believe that flying for some people is stressful, whether they're alone or with small children. Just take the stress out of it. Just try and enjoy the flight as much as you can. Eat when you want, sleep what you want. And then as soon as you get into your new time zone, change your clock so that you're on the new time zone, and just live life like that. And that's how you're going to get there as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let the plane ride just be this magical space.
Magical space.
Right? Where you get to watch as many movies as you want.
Yep.
And don't worry about like don't be so pressured to set the time to the destination time and be like, oh, I should be asleep right now. Like,
Yes.
don't create that pressure for yourself.
Exactly. Take
Okay.
the stress out of it and just
Okay.
enjoy it. Because the start of when you're on a plane, it's usually the start of a holiday that you're
Yeah.
supposed to be enjoying,
I know,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have do you recommend landing in the morning, afternoon, or evening of the destination? Does that affect the way that your sleep quality will be for the next few days?
I think it kind of depends how long your flight has been, really, and when was your last long sleep. Because if you've been flying for 12 hours and you've not slept at all, you're probably going to want to land in the evening, really, so you're getting some sleep. But maybe you have slept the whole time, so you don't really want to land in the evening, do you? So it kind of depends if you're able to sleep on the flight or not.
And you know, and this is a perfect subject to talk about because you recently did release a course with PDF about you know, getting over jet lag, specifically coming from the UK to Hong Kong. You said is about 7 hours of difference.
Yeah, at the moment,
So, like, I guess in a nutshell, how did you and your family work that out? So you're talking about you, your partner, your 3 kids.
Yeah.
That means all of you had jet lag, and some of you can handle it better than others.
Yeah.
Right. Physically, mentally, emotionally. So as a whole family unit, what was that experience like for you? What were your biggest takeaways that I'm sure contributed to the course that you released?
Okay, so when we arrived back from the UK this time, we landed, came home, and within 12 hours, Alex, my husband, was back on another trip. So I was
wow.
oh, this is great. I mean, terrible for him because he was also very sleep deprived, but I then had to sort myself and my 3 jet-lagged kids out. I was like, oh, how's this going to go?
Yeah.
But actually, we've done this so many times now.
Yeah.
I feel like I've cracked it. And we did get over jet lag within the 5 days. And it's summer. I feel like everyone traveled this summer. I had so many messages of people really worried or already in the jet lag process and just couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, how can I just try and help as many people as possible with the little time that I have? So I just put together this. I stayed up late because I was jet lagged on the first night, and I just put together this package that was just really easy to follow and that could help everyone get over their jet lag in 5 to 7 days. So it's a structured of when to go to bed, basically, and I do it by age as well, because like I was saying, younger children need more sleep than older children or adults. So when they should go to bed versus when we should go to bed. And I think a lot of people find it easier to follow a plan. If you're thinking with emotion or you're worried or you're obviously sleep deprived, it's really hard to make a clear decision. Whereas okay, I need to go to bed at 11 tonight. It's like, that's much easier to follow.
In the space of like, what's your mental capacity when you're jet lagged? It's a pretty unbelievable state of being.
Yes.
Right. Like I remember writing a title and description for this for a previous podcast, and we were talking about the episode was about our favorite sports controversies of 2024. And I said, like, today we're going to talk about the best controversies of 2024. The next sentence was, is shoplifting illegal? And then I went to bed, and then I popped it back up trying to see if I work it out. And then I had to take a screenshot just thinking, like, how ridiculous. Like, what was I thinking? And I thought that was a coherent thought process. I don't know, like, what is going on in my head? Not personally, I guess, like, just like generally speaking, what's happening with us in our heads with jet lag and the lack of sleep, and like, what's going on in there? I just want to know. Can you help me out there?
The brain fog is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you're awake at a time that your mind and body wants to sleep, so you just can't string a sentence together or think clearly at all. Really, you can't do 2 things at once. It's you just need to get to sleep, basically.
Okay, and that's where having that specific guide of like, all right, day 1, you know, this is what you should be doing.
Yes.
Like, rather than think about what's best, like, here's the guide.
Yeah, just follow this. It's so much easier. You're already sleep deprived. Make it easy for yourself. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well done. Good,
Thank
good,
you.
good.
Thank you.
Now talking also about kids, we did have questions about, you know, how to best approach sleep for your child. You know, you're talking about sleep training and co-sleeping. Right now, like, the ages of your children are
6, 3, and 11 months.
And with that kind of difference in age, are you already seeing, at least with your 6-year-old and your 3-year-old, vastly different sleeping habits and optimal sleep conditions and lengths and stuff like that?
I'm in a place at the moment with all their ages. I know this is going to change because when my oldest turned 7, but they all go to bed at 7 o'clock, all 3 of them
Wow.
at the same time. Yeah, and then they
I
tend to
feel like a
wake up.
terrible parent.
Don't feel like
Hearing
don't feel like a terrible parent. But yours are also a bit older, and they're napping in the day, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why. But if
Okay.
you need help, I can help you.
Sweet, thank you.
So my older 2 share a bedroom,
Mm.
which they love and is great. And then my youngest, she's in her own room, but next door to me and my husband. Yeah, and they at the moment they sleep well. But if they're sick, or jet lagged, then sleep does go out the window as well. So they sleep well 95% of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
With regards to something like co-sleeping, when I say co-sleeping, I mean I believe I practice that because living in China, we didn't have many bedrooms,
Right.
so it's basically just like if that means the kid's sleeping with the parents,
Yeah.
in bed or in their own bed next to the bed.
Yeah.
What are the effects of co-sleeping with your own sleeping rhythms? Like, do you guys just sync up optimally, or does one sleeping quality and their own sleeping rhythms become a detriment because of someone else's? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. I think co-sleeping is wonderful. I think it's beautiful. How lovely to share a sleep space with your children and you're all snuggled up together and they feel safe and you get to cuddle with them. I just think it's wonderful. But there's a reason why I don't do it.
Yeah.
I am very easily woken up. I'm a really light sleeper.
Yeah.
And children are typically quite restless and wriggly when they're in bed.
Yeah.
And they're also very hot. They're like hot water bottles.
They are.
Yeah.
They're great in the winter.
Yes, that's right. But yeah,
Yeah.
not so great in Hong Kong. So, and also, modern living, I'm driving a car every day and going to work, and I need to have a full night's sleep basically. And I know that they're safe and they're happy in their own bed. So that's why I don't do it basically. But that doesn't mean that other people shouldn't do it. If it works for them and their family, I think it's fine. If as an adult or a child, if you're not getting good sleep quality from co-sleeping or it affects a parent relationship because you're not able to share a bed with your other half, then I would say maybe you want to think about a different option. But there's no right or wrong with it at all. I actually think it's lovely. If my kids just stayed still and weren't quite so hot, I would have them in bed with me.
Yeah, I hear you. And then that made me think about when you find a partner, and you move in together, what you're gonna find a lot of differences about the way that you operate the kitchen or the bathroom, the way that are you a shoes inside or outside the house kind of person, and having that conflict. I'm sure sleep becomes a thing, right? Of like this person's sleeping habits and their circadian rhythm does not sync up with mine. Have you had to coach couples in that sense of having to sync them up better?
Yes.
Especially if they have different, I mean, you and your husband have different sleeping schedules because of his flying schedules. So all over the place, literally, right?
Literally.
So how do you help couples with their sleeping habits?
I think this is a really tricky one for someone that's has a chronotype of being an evening person and a night owl is with someone that is a morning person, an early bird. They're just constantly missing each other because they're at work all day. And then let's just say it's often the female that's the early bird. Not every time, but I have noticed that. She wants to come home, have her dinner, maybe have a quick chill out, and then she wants to go to bed. But then the other half, the husband, will want to stay up late and watch telly, but then they miss an evening together basically. And then come the morning, she's up early and probably wants to get out and go to work or go and work out. He's still in bed. So I think it's really difficult to sync up. Like I was saying earlier with the teenagers, you can manipulate your chronotype. So you have to work at it and you have to be consistent. So there are ways of doing that. If it is affecting relationship, then maybe that's something to look at. But otherwise, I guess it's just making time for each other on a weekend. Yeah.
Just like anything else, like kind of being gracious with each other.
Yeah.
All right. Not about relationships, but about chronotypes. Because our work schedules and depending on what kind of industry we are in, some people love to and can work out in the morning, some at lunch, and some have to push it to evening time, after work, after dinner even. And I have heard about like, if you're going to do something high exertion before sleep, it can become a challenge to bring yourself back down.
Yeah.
If you were going to try to help someone who has to do, high exertion exercises or whatever, or the very physical work in the evening, but they still want to sleep at a reasonable hour, so to speak, what can you do to improve your sleep quality if you can't change the time of your training or the time of your work?
Yeah. Well, firstly, exercise is excellent for sleep.
Oh, it is?
So yeah, so
Okay.
I would still definitely, even if it's late in the evening, still do the exercise. It's important. But just as you had said, if you exercise too close to bedtime, unfortunately, for some people, not everybody, it can make falling asleep quite tricky. So there's nothing really that can be done if you can't move that time. If you're the sort of person that is affected by that exercise, you're not going to be able to get home, have a shower and go straight to bed. I would put in a little buffer zone of something that's just going to relax you and bring you back down. So once you get back in, like I said, have that shower, keep the lights down super low. Ideally, don't eat anything too close to bedtime. If you're the sort of person that gets quite hungry after you've worked out, obviously you might want to choose a snack that's not, has no sugar or anything in it just before you go to sleep. It's not going to be too stodgy in your stomach. And yeah, I'd read or something, or just do some stretching or listening to some music or a really relaxed podcast to get you in the mood for sleep.
Okay, so like really have a good disciplined like a wind down routine.
That's right. Yeah, I call it a buffer zone. I think we should all have a buffer zone really an hour before bed, which is just full of rituals just for you. And ideally they don't involve a screen of any kind, perhaps some journaling. That's always a nice one. Music, podcast, stretching.
Is this something that you can do with your partner or with your children?
Yeah, you can do for sure. Yeah, it might be a nice little bonding exercise.
I mean, last week, because my older daughter we're trying to get her to read more like diligently. She loves the pictures, and then she'll make up her own stories. Now we just picked up a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we read the first chapter together at night, and she was like really engaged, and I was asking her questions, and she was asking me questions. What does this word mean? Yada yada yada. And by the end of it, felt really fulfilled. Being able to like read with my child, and then I was like, I'm pretty good. I'm ready for bed right now.
Oh, great.
And then something else happened. We were completely distracted. But
aside from that, could have gone to sleep.
we could have. But the idea that you can make this like, you can make this good time with your partner. You can make this quality time with your child. And it can, the whole idea of like, I love efficiency. And, killing two birds with one stone of like, we're building a relationship and we're getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
These little things are really nice to have.
They are, yeah. And that time that you were saying you spent with your daughter, it's actually shown that quality time like that, we call it love bombing, can help them sleep better.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to sleep so happy and full of love and relaxed. It's going to help them feel more rested and safe. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask you, like, what are like your top 1 to 3 things that you must do before you go to bed?
Before I go to bed, okay. I always have a shower before I go to bed.
Hot or cold?
Warm.
Okay.
I can't.
Like, does the temperature matter to the sleepiness?
I'm not a very good cold water person.
Okay.
I know it's like the trend at the moment, but
we literally just put an ice bath.
Right. Yes, I heard about this. Are you not into it either?
I mean, Alex is coaching me to be a little bit more tough about being in an ice bath. But like he's recorded my vocals in the ice bath, so I can't do the cold water. So yeah, if we can have a warm shower, I'm a fan of that.
It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, warm shower for you.
Yeah. And just to note, we actually want our body temperatures to drop to initiate sleep. So by having a warm shower, that actually helps because when you come out the shower, it forces your body temperature to drop. So it helps with sleep. But I like to do it anyways, regardless of whether it helps with sleep. So that's definitely one. The other one, I do actually do some stretching before I go to bed. Not for very long. It's just like a minute or two, but usually I'll play some music and I'll just do a little bit of stretching. I like to do it before bed. And reading. Yeah, I've always got a book on the go that I like to read. I actually have a bedtime book.
Like this is the one that I use when I'm going to go to sleep.
Yes.
So it takes like 2 years to finish it or something. Like how
Probably 'cause
many
I'm always-
pages are you going through before you start knocking
I
out?
always fall asleep reading it.
Okay.
No, because you don't want to read anything.
Stimulating?
Yes, exactly. That's the word I'm looking
Like
for.
not a John Grisham novel or something.
Right. Yeah. Something that's just really relaxed that you can read before you go to sleep.
All
Yeah.
right, cool.
Yeah.
Are you willing to share what that book is that puts you to sleep?
The moment I'm reading this Mythos with Stephen Fry,
Okay.
it's like it
Oh, Stephen
recreates.
Fry.
Yes.
I mean, I know him as a very interesting person. I can't say I've read any of his books,
Right.
but like I would think that's a very intellectually stimulating kind of book.
It's basically about Greek mythology,
Mhm.
but he's like modernized it.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. It's quite relaxed for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Does it make you dream about those things when you do go to sleep?
Oh. Well, not that I don't recall any dreams about Greek mythology, but there's time. I've only
Okay.
just started this one.
As a person with good sleep, do you dream a lot?
Yes, yeah, I
And
do.
is that an effect of good sleep?
Yes, it is actually. If you remember not everyone remembers their dreams, but if you are remembering your dreams, it means that you're having a lot of REM sleep, rapid eye movement. And REM sleep is the bottom of the priority when it comes to how our brains prioritize sleep. We always start with deep sleep and then light sleep, and then we finish with REM sleep. So yeah, that's when we do our emotional detoxing, and it's the thing that we will sacrifice if we don't have enough time, because the physical restoration is the most important. So if you're remembering your dreams, it usually means that you're reaching REM sleep at the end of the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we've only spoken for an hour and I've learned so much.
Oh, good. That's nice to
Um,
hear.
I'd love to end with just like a few quick fire questions just off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I was intended to write it down, but I fell asleep last night trying to write it. So here goes. You know the whole idea of counting sheep
Yes.
before you go to sleep? If you were to count something
Yeah.
to make you fall asleep, what would you be counting?
Don't count anything.
You don't count anything.
No, because actually there's a study on this.
Okay, bring it on.
Apparently, when they put people in the lab to get them to count sleep, it was a detriment to their sleep.
Because there's too much brain activity?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would just picture your favorite place and listen to all the noises and imagine the smells and drift off like that.
What if like your favorite place is like a crazy rave?
A nightclub.
Yeah.
Don't think.
So, okay, something
in
your favorite
nature.
calm thing.
Yeah. Think like
Okay.
the beach or
Okay.
like the rainforest.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. What temperature is your bedroom when you fall asleep?
21 degrees.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
like it cold.
Actually, you want it between 18 and 21. So that's the warmer scale. And 18 degrees feels really cold. But like I was saying, we need our body temperatures to drop to initiate sleep. So actually, a cool room is good. You know, if you're really hot and sweaty, you actually find it quite difficult if you wake up in the night to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
That can be why. And that's something I see a lot with infants as well. We keep the rooms too warm, or they're in too thick pajamas or duvet sleep sacks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the same subject about the things that we do in the bedroom, blackout curtains or eye mask?
I opt for blackout curtains because I find an eye mask uncomfortable.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess if you're not fussed by having one on your
Personal
face,
preference.
yes, I'd say yeah.
Okay. How about weighted blankets?
Oh, I have one of those too.
Okay. So I actually talked to someone about that, and
Yeah.
my question was like, how heavy is this thing?
It's quite heavy.
Okay,
yeah.
and then how does that? Does your washer break when trying to? Like, I don't know that. I'm in my head. I'm thinking of like an 8x8 thing of 8x8 like foot thing of chainmail or something.
Right.
It's not like that, is it? Like, how heavy is your?
I don't
weighted
know how
blanket?
heavy that it is. It feels heavy. I don't know the actual weight of it. But in terms of washing it, this sounds a bit gross, but I don't wash it. But that's because I put it on top of my duvet.
Okay.
So it's never actually touching my skin.
Okay, but that helps you sleep. Or?
It does.
Okay.
It settles your nervous system, and if you've got restless leg syndrome,
I do.
it's
My
a
wife
good
hates
one.
it. She says,
Oh.
"Stop kicking me." And I
Oh.
said, "I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm sorry."
Ah.
But like my legs kick all the time.
Do you take magnesium supplements?
No, and I tried. I don't even know what I was trying. I just need to clean up my sleep. Period. But yeah, my legs kick a lot, and I don't even
Right.
play football.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of kicking in my life, but in bed,
You do a lot
I'm
of
like
it.
an all-star.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Um,
Magnesium helps.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
usually a sign of magnesium or iron deficiency.
Okay.
And it's really common because 80% of us are magnesium deficient, apparently.
Okay.
So up your magnesium either in a supplement or food wise, that'll help. It's
Okay.
really common. A lot of people I see have restless leg syndrome.
All
A
right.
weighted blanket can also help you.
Nice.
Mm.
When you travel,
Mm.
do you bring your own like pillowcase?
No, actually I don't really bring anything for me, but for my kids I bring white noise machines, night lights, their snuggies, their water bottles, their sleep sacks, their pajamas. And I bring it, this also sounds gross again, but I don't wash them. That's a little tip when you're traveling with children, but not dirty,
Have it
but
smell like home.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And same as like bed sheets and stuff. That can also help. Baby cot sheets more. And probably don't need a 7-year-old to have the same bed sheet, but yeah, for babies can help.
Okay. What else do I want to ask you before we end today? Oh, we have a like classic question about as an ending question for all of our guests is
Yeah.
describe your perfect day.
Hmm.
I want you to describe your perfect sleep. So
Oh.
like the setting of your sleep, what is
Mm.
that whole situation like? If
Mm.
there are people there, who was there,
Yeah.
you know, which part of the world. Create the world, okay? Just in as few words or just paint the picture. What is your
Okay.
perfect sleep?
Oh, this is a great question. Okay, my husband's away. This is terrible. He's away. He's not there.
Damn, okay.
So I have the king size bed to myself.
Okay, all right, I understand that.
But also, when he comes back, he often comes back in the middle of the night, and it just disturbs me. So he's not here. He's gone away. So I've done my lovely pre-bedtime ritual. I've read my book, and then I've drifted off into my peaceful slumber. The children are in good health. No one is waking me up. And yeah, I'm sleeping through until 6 and waking up naturally. And then, yeah, start my day with a big glass of water and a cup of tea.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just end on this note. My twin sister is a mom of 4.
Right.
I don't think she's had a bed to herself in about the 9 years that she's
Oh,
been a
bless
mother.
her.
And she would say 100% the same thing about having the bed to herself. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I just need that damn bed,
Mm-hmm.
whatever space it is.
Starfish.
It's exactly.
Mm.
I don't want anyone trying to like. Her youngest daughter Charlie, she says "booby" all the time
Right.
for obvious reasons.
Yes.
So she doesn't need to have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to all the moms out there listening, I do hope for you all to have a nice bed to yourself.
Yes.
Every now and
Full
again.
night's sleep. We all need it. Yeah.
Awesome. Gemma, this is a wonderful conversation. You just answered a bunch of questions I had lying around in my head.
Oh, great.
I need to improve my sleep myself. There's all these little things. That elastic band trick was
Yeah.
really, really like illuminating, and it's a great illustration of what I can do for myself. This was an awesome conversation, and I'm so glad that you came here
Thank you.
and that you're a guest of our podcast.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Where can we find you if we are looking for questions,
Mm.
advice, coaching, anything like that?
Well, I'm on Instagram,
Mhm.
just Gemma Sleep Consultant, if
Okay.
you want me on there. Same as Facebook. Otherwise, you can find my website, The Sleep Coach Hong Kong.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
put your Instagram profile and your website URL on the show notes.
Great.
That way it'll be easy for our guests to find it.
Cool.
All right, Gemma, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
podcast.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Process podcast. If you love this episode, or if this episode had an impact on you in any way, shape, or form, we'd love